Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. It's March. It's April 5, 2024, 3:38 p.m. There are a whole bunch of topics I want to discuss with you, and I wanted to get this out sooner, but I am here right now. Please hit the thumbs up. It helps the channel grow, get the message out there, fights those algorithms. I don't know if it does or not, but other YouTube creators are saying the same thing. Please try to watch the video to the end, that it seems to affect whether or not the video is going to be seen or recommended. But anyway, so let's get on with the news. And we've discussed this a little bit before. We've got the solar eclipse approaching on the 8th, and by now you're probably all sick about hearing about the eclipse from every other YouTube creator on the planet. But I want to remind you, generally eclipses bring events into the lives of people, into the environment, and the moon is symbolic of the people, okay? And when it blocks out the light of the sun for a moment there, it should be a self-reflection. It's a self-reflection. It's a time of going within. It's a time of prayer, meditation, getting together with like-minded people to visualize that which you want for yourselves, for the planet, for others. Getting in touch with your God source, whatever that is. Now, CERN, CERN in Switzerland, has another agenda set for April 8th. And that is starting up their particle collider again. From what I understand, it's been somewhat dormant for 10 years. Don't quote me on that. Haven't done any research on it. That's what I just read. And they've decided, well, you know what? Let's just start it up again, and on the day of the eclipse. And then NASA, Nazi, just replace NASA with NAZI, and you get the message, have decided they're going to set off 3 rockets in the path of the sun. They want to destroy the sun, and their goal is to, along with CERN, to break up the God particle. At first, they wanted to discover what the God particle was. And you have to blame the scientists for this. Scientists receive research grants. They're paid for this. As Sabrina Wallace has mentioned, this is people doing this. Okay? Without these people, without these scientists, none of this would be transpiring. And they can't say, I didn't know what I was doing. Oh, it's for the sake of science. At some point along your research, at some point when you're reviewing what's going on, you must realize that your research, that these devices are not being utilized for the good of society, and you need to back off. Okay, so we're not having a regular solar eclipse. And yeah, everybody's talking about the path that it crosses an X and stuff like that. But we have had eclipses from, for centuries. There's always been eclipses of the sun and the moon. We've always had solar eclipses. We've always had lunar eclipses. Some of them are eventful. Some of them are not eventful at all. Some of them actually bring wonderful events into the life of the person and to society. However, the criminals, Nazi and CERN, NASA, Nazi and CERN, know that this eclipse is actually a very special one. If you ever heard that song by the Mamas and the Papas, of course you're not as old as me, called The Age of Aquarius. This is the dawning of the Age of Aquarius. Harmony and understanding, all of that. Jupiter aligns with Mars and peace along the planets, blah, 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 blah. You can go look up the lyrics, and I can't sing it for you. Anyway, they were portending a future event, and that event is a portion of this solar eclipse. This eclipse is supposed to usher in a new dawning for all the people, for everybody that's waking up, to wake people up and to better the world. However, we have a little third-party interference. Third-party interference, yeah. 3 rockets are going to be shot at the eclipse by NASA. Why? Why do they want to do it? They want to see how the light reflects or refracts. Why would you want to do that? They don't want you to see the true eclipse. They're trying to refract the light, destroy the light, and bring in their satanic agenda. That's what they're doing, okay? That's what they're doing. And CERN, with this particle collider and the God particle they want to destroy, they want to cut into the earth and allow all of the demons to surface. And even Elon Musk has transmitted a warning about CERN on the day of the eclipse, okay? So I'm just going to leave it at that. Now, who's targeted? And I hope you like this little image here. This is drawn by Sawlight on eBay. This is a hand-painted original mini painting. Let's see if she signed the back here. Yeah, there's a little signature on the back there. But I love it. So pretty. Who are targets? Me, you, everyone. They steal your intellectual property, men, your land, neuro rights, women, animals, pets, kids. Oh, yes. Now, you want to hear about New Jersey? Okay, this was one of the first stories I heard today, and I'm going to play it for you. New Jersey is caught keeping baby blood. This was 6 hours ago. Now, you have to understand the one thing about the eclipses. When the eclipse is happening during those 5 minutes, which is an exceptionally long eclipse, we are in what appears to be almost like a new moon. A new moon is the dark of the moon. It's at the time of the month when you look up the sky and it is dark. The new moon is the dark of the moon. The animals are quiet. Now, when the moon starts increasing in light and turns into the crescent, the animals wake up. People are energized. Things start to happen. This solar eclipse during the darkening of the sun it's akin to the new moon. Although this is the sun, it's sort of like a new sun, okay? Sun brings light and warmth. Sun traditionally is masculine. It is symbolic of the sign of Leo. Leo, the lion, all-powerful lion, roars, powerful, paternal. So now during this time of the darkening of the sun, these criminals are going to be shooting up 3 rockets and starting up CERN all at the same time. They want to disrupt the natural progression of this eclipse. And make no mistake, they have more than one sun up there because they've created it, and more than one moon. In fact, I have an image provided by one of my wonderful subscribers caught on his camera of 3 moons. 3 moons, yes. And there are people around the world that are mentioning that there is more than one moon and more than one sun. And, you know, Bill from the Gates of Hell, you know, he's renowned for wanting to manipulate the sun and darken it. So anyway, I am powerful, you are powerful, and we are powerful together, and they are cowards. So let's get back to New Jersey was caught keeping baby blood. I mean, think of this for a minute. Let your mind wander. This is the Institute for Justice. It's a half an hour long. I'm only going to play a little of it. I will post a link to it because it is a YouTube channel. But I want you to hear this story.
Use it for whatever they want, including selling it to third parties and giving it to law enforcement. If you've ever had a child, you may remember medical staff pricking your child's heel to collect a blood sample and test it for disorders. Every state conducts this kind of testing. New Jersey, however, goes much further. It stores the blood for 23 years without the parent's consent or knowledge. I'm Kim Norberg of the nonprofit civil liberties law firm, the Institute for Justice, joined by co-host Keith Neely. And today we're talking with IJ attorneys Rob Fromer and Brian Morris. They recently teamed up with New Jersey parents to file a class action lawsuit challenging the state's unconstitutional retention of blood from every newborn in the state. This is Beyond the Brief.
So what she is saying is that New Jersey was caught. They didn't disclose it, but one parent found out, and she'll explain why if we get that way, if we get that far, that New Jersey has been collecting the blood of every baby that has been born. You know how they prick the heel and collect the blood? Usually, there are some states that only store it for 3 days and then they discard it. Not New Jersey. They keep it for 23 years and they give it to law enforcement. And given what we know about predictive policing, you know, where the police use algorithms to predict the future because they're psychic and they use their own input. Let's say you've got a baby born, they collect the blood, and let's say in 7 years from now, you know, the satanic 7, Saturn, the Saturn square, let's say it's 7 years old, that child is acting out in school. Well, guess what? And let's say the police are called to the school. They'll just check their database, look up that DNA and say, oh, you know, we know everything we need to know about that child. And that child's going to get labeled. That child will be followed, stalked. That child will be installed in the watch list, blacklist. And what about the satanic agenda? Selling babies' blood? What if the criminals that be are analyzing the blood to see the intelligence, the future of those children? Let's say those children have a type of blood that these Satanists prefer. They can follow those children through their blood type for 23 years.
So, Rob, can you give us a bit of background on the program in New Jersey?
Absolutely. What's happening in New Jersey came to us as a shock to us. What we found out last summer was that law enforcement were going in and requesting blood to do criminal investigations without getting a warrant. And we did some digger deeping, and it turns out that New Jersey was testing children's blood, which is pretty understandable and common throughout the United States. But what they weren't telling parents is that they were holding on to the blood afterwards for up to 23 years and doing whatever they wanted to with it.
Brian, how does a normal program like this work? It isn't weird necessarily for, you know, a family to go to a hospital, you know, when the child is born, you stick the heel, whatever. That seems pretty normal. So how does this work in other states?
Yeah, so every state's a little bit different. So every baby that's born in America, its heel is pricked. They put some blood on the card, and then it goes off to get tested for diseases. Now, depending on where you live, it varies greatly what happens next. So a lot of states like Virginia and Alabama, they test for the blood for the 60 some odd diseases, and then if there's nothing wrong with it, they destroy the card within a couple months. That's probably the best case scenario. Then there's other states where somewhere in the middle where they'll, like New Jersey, they'll take the blood, they'll keep it for some length of time. They don't tell parents what they're doing with it, and there's no oversight on what they can do with it. So basically the state is keeping the blood in secret, and they can do whatever they want with it. Now, there's still some other states then that have some protections in place where they'll say, well, we'll keep the blood, but you can only use it for A, B, and C. But New Jersey's kind of the worst of the worst, where it just has no restrictions whatsoever.
If New Jersey isn't asking parents for consent, how did our clients find out about this? Because it seems like a practice that they're kind of keeping secret, but our clients became aware of it and reached out to us.
IJ found out about it through a public records request about a year ago, last summer, where there were some criminal investigations that they tied blood to a suspect, and everyone in New Jersey was kind of like, well, where's this blood coming from? And after some digging, and the state, New Jersey, opposed revealing anything, but after a court ordered them to, it was revealed that this database of the children's blood that they had been collecting, they had been giving it to law enforcement officers without a warrant. They'd been entering into agreements with outside public health agencies to turn over the blood, and that's where parents really kind of alarm bells went off, and we got involved.
So this is creepy. Obviously, it's, reflexively creepy. But what are the constitutional issues with the program?
Well, the biggest problem here is that New Jersey's program, its secret retention and use of this blood without giving parents informed consent, violates a couple different parts of the Constitution. One is the Fourth Amendment. We have a right to be secure in our persons, including in our blood. And that means that if before the government takes it and keeps it and holds onto it to do what God knows what, they have to get our consent first. And the other important thing here is remember what's happening. These are babies, and their heels are being pricked, and this blood's being taken, and parents are never being given any oversight or any way to meaningfully decide what happens to that blood. And that violates parents' rights to, be parents, which has been protected for over a century by the Due Process Clause of the U.S. Constitution.
So when I first hear this case, I'm kind of drawn back to Henrietta Lacks, which of course is a famous 20th century example of a person whose cells were taken without her consent, ultimately used to create the groundbreaking medical treatment that's still used today. The California Supreme Court in that case, of course, ultimately held that the discarded cells from her body were not her property. So how are you trying to wrestle with this? How does this case stand distinguished from the Henrietta Lacks example?
Well, my understanding is that with Henrietta Lacks is that she was undergoing treatment for disease, and then it was a byproduct. That the blood cells were a byproduct. That's different than what we have here, where the government is intentionally taking this blood, the person's blood, and putting it to its own use. And in that situation, you can't argue that this blood is abandoned, because the only reason New Jersey has it in the first place is because it demanded it. And what that means under the Fourth Amendment is it has to get our consent before it does whatever it wants with it.
Does New Jersey even know what it wants to use the blood for? It seems like it's not telling parents what they're going to do, but it also seems like they kind of don't have a plan other than we'll keep it in a box and maybe one day something, ?
Well, I think New Jersey probably has a plan. They just don't want anybody to know it. So every state that there's been these lawsuits, there's this black box of, hey, we're going to keep this blood in secret so nobody knows, and we're not going to tell anybody what we're doing with it. And then once some light is shined on what they're doing, there's just some really egregious things that come out. In Texas, for example, they said they were doing nothing wrong, and it turned out they were turning the blood over to the Pentagon to create some national and hopefully one day international database, like a registry. And then
That's
other
horrible.
states have been caught selling it to third parties. So, today's day and age too, that with how valuable data is, and this is extremely personal data, it's very valuable to the state, and we would be shocked through discovery if we don't find out that there's even more abuses.
I believe there's even more abuses. I mean, why would a state keep a secret that they're maintaining blood records of newborn infants for 23 years and not seeking parental consent? There's obviously a nefarious and financial agenda, and I guarantee there's more that's going to come out during this lawsuit. So this is actually a class action lawsuit. New Jersey is caught keeping baby blood. So I'm going to end on this, and I'm going to read something else that came to my attention here. 1 second if I have it here. Oh yes, this is from a subscriber. This is the truth about government using people as guinea pigs for secret energy weapons. Now, along those lines, folks, could New Jersey be using the blood to go after these children as adults or teenagers in the future? Could they be using these children's blood, these children in the future, as guinea pigs? This is on Odysee.
Confirmed that during the Cold War, the United States military conducted secret tests on unsuspecting people in the city of St. Louis. A local sociologist will make her findings public tomorrow, but she spoke first to the I-Team's Lisa Zigman.
Lisa Martino Taylor's life work has been to uncover details of the Army's ultra-secret military experiments carried out in St. Louis and other cities during the 1950s and 60s.
Just to be clear, St. Louis is in Missouri. A lot of times when these news channels are reporting the news, they'll tell you the name of the city, and they just don't remember to tell you the state. And not everybody is familiar with St. Louis. It has one of the highest crime rates in the country.
This study was secretive for a reason. They didn't have volunteers stepping up and saying, yeah, I'll breathe zinc cadmium sulfide with radioactive particles.
These Army archive pictures show how the tests were done in Corpus Christi, Texas in the 1960s. In Texas, planes were used to drop the chemical, but in St. Louis, the Army placed chemical sprayers on buildings and station wagons. City officials were kept in the dark about the tests. The Cold War cover story was that the Army was testing smoke screens to protect cities from a Russian attack. The truth, according to Martino Taylor, was much more sinister.
It's pretty shocking. The level of duplicity and secrecy. Clearly, they went to great lengths to deceive people.
By making hundreds of Freedom of Information Act requests, she uncovered once classified documents that confirmed the spraying of zinc cadmium sulfide. The greatest concentration of this compound was sprayed near the Pruitt-Igoe housing complex just south of downtown St. Louis. It was home to 10,000 low-income people, and an estimated 70% were under the age of 12.
The government has been using people as guinea pigs for decades. It's not just the vaccines, but now we're getting reports that they're using directed energy weapons
Facial
against
recognition.
unsuspecting civilians in very much the same way. They're no longer just spraying people like bugs. They're targeting people with exotic weapons that they've never seen before, that they've never heard about before. And of course, they want people to think that it's the Russians. They keep talking about the Havana syndrome. 60 Minutes has come back with a new documentary on all of these people getting hit with energy weapons, and they're like, the Russians. It's the Russians. Just like the Trump dossier and everything else. It's the Russians that's targeting people. It's not the CIA. It's not the U.S. government. But of course it is. And they've weaponized the entire infrastructure. And now they're just testing it out on people, especially Christians, conservatives, and purebloods. And that's why we keep warning people about this. If you've been experiencing the 5G symptoms, chronic fatigue, heart palpitations, recurring headaches, pain not associated with an injury, sudden onset of pain, shifting of pain, vertigo, ringing in the ears. You're being targeted by the system. You're being targeted by AI and the U.S. government, and we know that they're basically out of control, rigging elections, injecting people with the death vax, poisoning the food, the air, the water, etc., etc. Totally out of control, and people are getting hit. We've got the video evidence, and basically the entire grid has been weaponized. All of the infrastructure has been weaponized that's connected to the internet for the most part. CCTV cameras, cell towers, cell phones, smart meters, smart cars, and the list goes on.
This
Even
person
planes,
is spinning.
as they fly by,
spinning?
they basically will zap people on the ground. And so everybody needs to be aware this is part of the Agenda 21, Agenda 2030 program to exterminate people. And it doesn't stop there. They're using this as a social credit score system. And basically, as soon as you get flagged on social media, this system starts processing you. And it makes it look like natural causes. We can't warn people enough about what's going on. When you see how these people are being tortured and the like, it's beyond disturbing. Everyone needs to know about these government programs. Everybody needs to know about this 5G. It's a targeting system. This beamforming isn't for telecommunications. It's to take people out. And they're testing it right now. And it's beyond the testing phase. It's pretty much in the implementation phase.
Yeah, for all the watch-listed, blacklisted, targeted people out there, we're well aware of this because that graphene is all spread through the environment, our homes, and we ingest it. And it turns our bodies into an antenna. And it changes, eventually it changes our DNA. It changes our energy. Excuse me. It changes our energy. I've got a tickle in my throat now that I didn't have before. It changes our energy. So I'm going to end here. This is Odysee. I will tell you that it is Odysee.com. The heading is The Truth About Government Using People as Guinea Pigs for Secret Energy Weapons. So I cannot post the link to this, but you can locate it yourself there. And then the other one, with regard to New Jersey, I can post that link because this is a YouTube channel. New Jersey Caught Keeping Baby Blood. Institute for Justice is a class action lawsuit. I have another topic to discuss in another video, but I'm going to upload this one. Please hit the thumbs up. Just remember, on the day of the eclipse, which is only a few days away, the best thing to do, first of all, I'm going to say that you can look at the eclipse after the sun is blocked out. You will see a beautiful halo around the sun. So once the sun is blocked out, you can look directly at the sun without any Google glasses, goggles, or whatever, once it's blocked out. The way you can view it is the way I viewed the last solar eclipse, and that was holding my phone up in front of me, turning the camera to face towards the sun. And then I watched it eclipse in New Jersey in 2017. I remember that eclipse. My neighbor, the perp, was next door mimicking all of my actions on his phone, doing exact same thing that I was doing. So anyway, this is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading. I hope everybody enjoyed. I mean, I hate to use that word enjoyed, but we're keenly interested in Jeffrey's audio recording. It's phenomenal, and please share it. Please share it around. And thank you, Weeping Willow, for all of your wonderful comments. We really appreciate you. And I'm going to sign off for now and check on my chickens and talk to you guys soon.